Thank you. I still just want to just wrap up the AJ kind of thing, and then we'll move on to Pernell if you don't mind. Would you be up for training AJ if he came to you?
Well, I'm up for training anybody, and I think I have the experience to help anybody in the sport. I've seen every style that can be seen right now. So, of course, I think I can help him, and if the call comes, hey, I'm willing.
Do you reckon you could train him to a level that he could potentially beat Usyk though? And what would be your
Well, I
game
mean,
plan what would be your game plan going into that rematch if you was Joshua's trainer?
I think I would have to say that again. I don't think he should fight Usyk his next fight. You know,
But just
in
say,
boxing,
just in case
but
just in case
but
it just was,
well, if it
what
was,
would you do?
it'll be difficult for me to spend 8 to 10 weeks to show him how to beat this guy. It's going to be hard
Six months?
because
Could you do
6 months,
6 months?
yes, six months would be good. But
Yeah.
you know, it, it takes all of that plus some. You know, and
And what would be
but
your
if
game plan?
well, I would have to just sit down and go back and look at all of Usyk's fights, which I hadn't done. I would
Hmm.
have to go back and look at everything to see where he had success is and see where his success wasn't as overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And and then go back and look at all of Joshua's fights and see where I think we can fit different aspects of the game that can
Hmm.
help him to not only impose his will, but to set him up so he can set Usyk up in different spots to hit him with
Hmm.
different combinations.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think he had more success. He was headhunted. He should have went to the body for Usyk. That's where Derek Chisora actually had success with Usyk.
Yes,
Body
but
shots.
again, I think you have to look at I would have to look at everything.
Hmm.
I just can't look at that fight and make
Hmm.
a game plan because obviously what they didn't work. You know, and I just have to get to know Anthony Joshua, which I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I've seen some of his fights, but not everything. And
Hmm.
guys are different in the gym than they are in the fight. So I would
Right.
have to spend so much time in the gym with a guy to know exactly who I'm dealing with.
Right. Why would his team try to turn? Because Anthony Joshua is a boxer puncher, so why wouldn't they try to capitalize on those aspects instead of trying to turn him into like a purist boxer? That's just going backwards. You can't add that many strings to someone's bow if that's not what they are.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing is when you change somebody to think
Hmm.
that they're going to have that success.
Hmm.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But
Hmm.
obviously, I don't know what they were looking at, but they saw something that made them think that Joshua was going to be able to outbox him or just have his way with him, you know,
Yeah.
I guess throughout the fight. And when
Yeah.
that didn't work, it don't seem like they had a plan B.
Plan B.
And
Yeah.
or plan C, I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes, you have to have an A, B, and C in order
Yeah.
to make this thing work. But
Yeah.
if you don't practice that in the gym, what makes you think he's going to do it in a fight?
So okay, so if you I know what their game plan was because I spoke to someone that knew what the game plan was, and it was silly. It was just what we all knew. It was to outbox Usyk for some silly reason. But if you as a fighter get to about round 3 or 4 and see that game plan not working, isn't it experience? I don't understand. Can a boxer just not on the fly just implement a different plan without the corner? Like just go on instinct because you know that you're already 4 rounds down.
Well, I'm sure Joshua had confidence in his corner, of course. Maybe he thought, okay, I lost the first 3 rounds, so maybe things have changed. Let me go back to see what my corner is going to do. But obviously, they made him stick with what he was doing and he wasn't having success at all. So, but this is what I'm talking about, having a plan B. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to change it. You have to change it up sometimes, you
Yeah.
know, and, but it don't seem like they worked on but one plan in the gym, and
Yeah.
that's all he knew what to do. So, and, you know, how you gonna tell him something different if you didn't work on it in the gym?
This
Can't
is,
tell him
but
something different.
yeah, I agree. Like, but can't a boxer then freestyle? Like, if your corner's not changing the game plan, you as a boxer, can you not just decide, let me try a different thing? Like, or does that mean his inexperience stunted him from freestyling? Because I believe that if Usyk's game plan wasn't working, he's got enough experience to know, maybe let me change this on the fly to confuse Joshua. I just thought, why didn't Joshua? He obviously didn't have those instincts to be able to freestyle.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, I think, you know, when a fighter, you know, me myself being a fighter,
Hmm.
I've strayed away from the game plan a lot of times when
Hmm.
it wasn't going my way. Look, and I tell my boxers all the time, you know, we all aren't geniuses every time.
Right.
Sometimes we'll put a game plan together and it works perfectly. But I tell them all the time, if you see something that it's not working, then you got to do something different. You know, I tell
Hmm.
my fighters all the time, you look at the fighter. Don't expect for me to look at the fighter, and look at tape of this guy, study this guy, and you're the one who have to be in there with him.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
I don't have to be in there with him. I can look
Right.
at tape after tape after tape, but at the same time, you're the guy that's in there.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not in there. I'm only looking from the outside. I'm on the outside looking in. You're on the
Yeah.
inside. You are
Yeah.
there. You're in there. If you see
Yeah.
something, you got to take it. You got to, you know, you know, you could put a game plan together and it don't work. Simple as that. Then
Yeah.
you got to switch to something different. And this is
Yeah.
why you have to have plan A, plan B, and
Hmm.
sometimes plan C. If,
Hmm.
if this is not working, we can't keep doing the same thing, expecting
Yeah.
to win if we know
Yeah.
we're losing.
Right.
So
Right.
fighters themselves, they have to study themselves. And I have all my fighters to do the same thing. You look at tape. If you see something in the gym that I'm telling you that you're not comfortable with or
Hmm.
you don't think is going to work, let me know and we can work it out together and let's
Right.
try it like that. Because if
Right.
we don't do it that way, if you only think that, okay, we just go stick with what I'm doing and you ain't looking at tape, you're not looking at the fighter that you're in there with, you
Hmm.
know, then it could be a problem down the line.
Hmm.
So, that's why I try to go to plan A, plan B,
Yeah.
but at the same time, plan C, us together going over the game plan, and you got to tell me what you see so we can work on that. And if it's not working in the gym, that don't mean it's not going to work in the fight.
Mm. But what if the fighter, like say for instance, AJ gets to round 4 and the game plan isn't working and he goes back to the corner and the corner's still telling him the same game plan? Is it up to AJ then to try and implement on the fly a different game plan?
Absolutely, it's up to him.
Mm.
Again,
Hmm.
he's the only one that's in there. Nobody's
Hmm.
taking punches on the outside. He's the only one that's in there that can throw punches. So,
Hmm.
it. I tell fighters all the time, if you come back to the corner and I tell you, okay, you won that round, if you won it or you lost or you lost.
Right.
You
Right.
have to judge yourself, but you have to, when you judge yourself, you got to judge yourself correctly. You can't be
Right.
afraid to say, I lost that round.
Right.
Okay, so we got to fix it the next round. If you go
Right.
back out there and do the same thing the next round, that means you lost another round. And
Right.
if you go back to the third round and do the same thing, that means you lost another round. And you didn't switch nothing. You didn't change nothing. Something has to be done. You have
Right.
to, you rely on your corner, but at the same time, you just have to say, you know what? I got to change things up because this is not working for me.
Right. Right. and there was like such like kind of like basic things that Joshua was getting wrong, and I don't understand why there wasn't adjust his foot placement. He allowed Usyk's foot to always be on the outside. Why wasn't the corner telling him, you got to be careful where your feet are? He's been training for 11 weeks, knowing that he's going to fight a southpaw. Foot placement should be the first thing that they're drilling on day in and day out. And if it's wrong in the first 2 rounds, why isn't the corner telling him, watch your feet?
Well, I think his corner failed him in the fight. Just
Big
simple
time.
as that.
Yeah,
They failed him.
big time.
And they have to take responsibility for that. You know,
Yeah,
but again, I understand that fighters they rely on their corner, but sometimes the corner not always right, and I'll be the first to admit that we're not
right,
always right. So the fighter has to be say, I'm the only guy that's in here. I got to do something different, and he
right,
had to change it himself. But this is
right,
why, again, I tell all my guys, don't let me be the only guy watching tape. You got to do it yourself also, because it's something I may miss.
mm-hmm,
Something that you may not think is right, it's right,
mm-hmm,
you
right.
know? And
Yeah,
so, and if you just solely depending on your corner and you're not studying yourself, you're going to have a big problem.
right. Yes, it's just weird. It's very weird to me. I just don't get the whole and okay, so with when you're in the corner, is it right to have, because AJ when he went back to the corner, he had one guy behind him saying stuff. I think Rob McCracken was in front of him saying stuff. A guy to the left of McCracken saying stuff, and even the guy holding the flipping spit bucket was saying stuff. Isn't that too many people in the corner all saying different things? Isn't that you just need one lead coach saying stuff?
Well, the thing about it is it happens. It's happened to me before where guys, I'm trying to tell the fighter what to do, then everybody's talking, and I just have to use profanity to shut everybody up, you
Right.
know. And, as the head trainer, that's what you have to do. You know,
Yeah.
Joshua is looking directly at his head trainer for instructions, and then he got this way in front of him. He got
Yeah.
everybody's talking, so it's confusing to the fighter. He don't know
Yeah.
what to do. If he don't know what to do. So he should have just
It's
told. He should
confusing.
have. Sometimes it's up to the fighter to say, everybody shut up
Everyone
and let
shut
me
up.
listen
Yeah.
to my trainer, to my head trainer. This
Yeah.
is why he's there. He's there. This is his game plan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he have assistants that that he go to and say, well, what you think about this? What you think about that? You know. And again, I use myself as an example, as examples, because I go my head to my assistant trainers also. I say, look, don't let me be the only one in the gym to look at this fight because maybe
Mhm.
I might miss something.
Right.
Tell me, but then when I'm talking to the fighter, you shut up. If
Right.
you want to say something, when I get back down and then the fighter is fighting, then tell me in my
And
ear,
and then you'll
what you
say it.
think we should do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you'll just relay it back to the fighter. So it's just one
Exactly,
voice.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
And do you think that AJ, for him to progress, now he has to leave like being trained by British coaches? I think you can only get so far with UK coaches. It's the old style. It's standing straight up. It's very no head movement. As you could see, Usyk's head movement was phenomenal. AJ did it in spats, but gave up halfway. By round 3, there was no head movement at all. So, do you believe that for him to progress, he needs a US coach? Because I do.
Well, that's going to be up to him to decide if he needs something different, because it's just been my experience when when you got he's obviously had a lot of success with his trainers now, and
Hmm.
he has to look at that. But you know, when a guy loses, everybody has to take responsibility for the loss.
Hmm.
But he has to have in his mind, can if he don't have the confidence that his trainers can change and do what's right for him,
Hmm.
then he has to make a change. If he don't have that confidence in them that they know, how to make him come
Moving
back
forward. Yeah.
and move forward,
Yeah.
especially with a guy like Usyk. Now
Yeah.
they did it against Andy Ruiz, but this is a totally
Different
different fight.
fighter. Yeah.
Oh my God,
Different fighter.
this is
He
totally
shouldn't have
different.
he shouldn't have lost to him in the absolute first place, to be fair.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
to get back your belts, that was an easy task. Just outbox
Yes,
him, stay on the
yes,
outside. It's simple.
exactly,
But with
exactly.
someone like Usyk, no,
It's a
it's not.
whole
That's
different
not.
story.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball
Yeah.
game.
So, Anthony Joshua has, he has his career on the line here. If he's going to go back in there with Usyk, do you go back in with the same people that failed you the first time? That's a tough task for him. And,
Yeah,
you know, he has to understand that this is business. This is his
yeah,
business.
right,
And, do you improve your business or do you keep your business the same way?
right. But why are we so hard on fighters now when they lose? Lennox Lewis lost twice. Muhammad Ali lost 5 times. Mike Tyson's lost I don't even know how many times, but he lost a few
Right.
times. It doesn't mean they're not. They're still Hall of Famers. Why do we put so much pressure on fighters that absolutely take tough fights and lose? Why are their careers then deemed on the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair to the fighter. It's not.
Mm,
It's not fair to the fighter to throw everything on the fighter. Look, fighters are fighters. Anthony Joshua is one of the best fighters in the world today.
mm-hmm.
But, just because you lose, that doesn't mean that you're still not a good fighter anymore.
Right.
It's just that, you have to figure out sometimes you have to understand that this guy was just better than me.
Yeah.
Some fighters you were never going to beat.
Right.
You can do whatever, you can do everything in the world possible, but it's some fighters that you should always stay away from,
They've
and
got
some
your
fighters
number.
that you should keep
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. They've got
So,
your number.
and
Yeah.
he it's a catch 22,
Hmm.
but he just has to understand that sometimes this guy got your number. Leave him
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that, to be successful. Leave it,
Yeah.
leave it and
He could.
go on to the next one.
Yeah, he could fight Usyk because what Usyk is like 3 years older than Joshua. He's nearly 35. Joshua's going to be 32. So really, if he leaves Usyk alone and he could fight Usyk on the be strategic, he could fight Usyk on the tail end of Usyk's career. Like when Usyk's like 38, 39, Joshua would be 34, 35. That would make more
Absolutely.
sense, wouldn't it? To be
Absolutely.
honest. Yeah.
Look, in this sport, you got to treat the sport like a business. You can't
Right.
listen to outsiders and saying, "Oh, you should fight this guy. You should fight get this." Let people talk. People can talk or do whatever they want to do. The business of the sport is those who rise to the top are the smartest guys in the sport.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to prove anything. He's already proved because he's champion of the world. So you don't. What else do you want to prove? That you could beat every single guy that's in the top 100 in your division? No.
Mm,
You pick and choose the best guy for you out there.
yeah.
This is a business, and once you treat it like a business, then your career is going to last a lot longer.
So would you agree with Bob that he should take step aside money and let Usyk fight? Who would Usyk fight next? So Usyk would fight the winner out of Tyson Fury and Wilder.
Yes, I would definitely want to take step aside money for that. I mean, that would be for me. I think that's the smartest thing for him to do
Hmm.
because let these guys beat each other up, and who
Yeah.
knows if Wilder beats Fury,
Hmm.
I think Wilder has the best chance to beat Usyk. I don't think
Yeah.
Fury has the best chance to beat Usyk. I think it's Wilder, and I think Joshua has the best chance against Wilder.
Yeah.
So let these guys fight it out, and
Yeah.
then he's there. He's right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
His only
Yeah.
problem is going to be if Usyk beat everybody.
Yeah. Because then he's going to have to face Usyk again anyway. So just be like,
So,
damn.
but
But
but at
hopefully
least at
Usyk
least
might be a bit
play
older.
at least play it that way though. You got to
Yeah.
play it that way. Don't
Yeah.
don't don't be crazy and just think that you have to revenge yourself every time you lose. You don't have to
Yeah.
do that in this sport.
What great fighter heavyweight? Because I'm not a boxing historian as such. I'm still learning a lot. What heavyweight boxers fought someone, the same person twice, and lost twice back to back?
Uh, wow,
That was a good question, wasn't it?
that's a great question, especially in the heavyweight division
Mm.
because I'm trying to think. Wasn't Ali and Norton? I'm trying to think. I know Norton won
One.
one fight.
Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
Well, the
but that
first one
was,
was
but that was,
n-
that got thrown out
yeah,
and no contest and all that
yeah,
rubbish.
yeah. That's
The
right.
only reason why it was a no contest is because Mike was getting his ass whooped by Evander and chose to bite his ear instead of getting knocked out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. All
yeah,
right,
but
but
they
just
didn't get the
besides that,
decision.
just
So
on a normal fight, what heavyweight boxers lost to the same boxer?
Consecutively?
Yes.
consecutively, I
Hmm.
don't know, man. Uh, oh, what did Holyfield and Lennox look? No, the first one was a draw.
First one was a draw, but should have been rewarded to Lennox
Yeah, to
Lewis.
Lennox. Yes.
So there is there. So
Yeah,
it hasn't happened. So if
it hasn't happened.
Joshua would be making history if he gets beat twice consecutively by.
Well, you,
Absolutely.
you, you could also say Deontay Wilder losing twice at Tyson Fury, but once again, that
Yeah, but
falls into the
it's a draw. It
Evander
was a draw.
Lennox category,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was
Well,
still
I,
deemed a
Yes,
draw.
yes.
I tell you what, great job, and this. I'll say this, LadyChann,
Mm-hmm.
great job with your questioning because there's certain things because I've been in this business for such a long time. There's certain things I take for granted and forget to ask Coach Ronnie. You brought out so many great points that I take for granted. Yeah, and it's very insightful stuff. So great job interviewing the coach.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I tell you what, though, it's time, guys, for another episode of Fact or Fiction. Are you ready, Coach Ronnie?
Let's do this.
All right, number one. Anthony Joshua will follow through with the rematch against Alexander Usyk, and it'll take place in Saudi Arabia, March of 2022. Fact or fiction?
Can I play as well?
Yeah,
No.
but you have to let Ronnie go first,
Yeah,
sister.
Ronnie will always go first. No, yeah, Ronnie will always go first. I'll just copy Ronnie's answers.
I'm gonna say it's a fact, and
Mhm.
and I don't think it's gonna be all Anthony Joshua.
Mm.
I think it's the people that's around him
Here, here.
that wants to do this. I don't think they're looking at this and they just saying, "Oh, you could do like you did with Ruiz, and then just come back." Just got to fight him a different way. I don't think that works for him. I just think that the smart business move by him is to step aside and let these other guys fight each other, and then he fight the winner. And that may be Usyk again, but at least you give yourself an opportunity to see him fight somebody else, and maybe you could figure out some things better doing that.
Indeed. Yeah, it's unfortunately I'm fearing that they're already moving towards rematch, and this is predominantly Eddie Hearn just looking at how much bigger the rematch is going to sell. That's what he's looking at. And it's a terrible business maneuver, in my opinion.
Well, it's a terrible business maneuver for Anthony Joshua But a
That's
great
it.
one for Eddie Hearn.
Great one for Matchroom Sport and short term though. Yeah, I mean,
That's
you
right.
keep in mind you can count on one hand how many big ticket sellers and major attractions there are in the sport of boxing. And Anthony Joshua is one of them. You know,
Yeah.
Promotions 101, protect your ticket sellers. My word.
Absolutely.
So number 2, Coach Ronnie, are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
46-year-old Anderson Silva will take on Floyd Mayweather Jr. in an exhibition later on this year on Showtime pay-per-view. Fact or fiction, sir?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Look, I just don't think people go back. You know, Floyd got him twice, and I don't think you'll get people a third time. So, it may happen, but I don't think so. But people won't back. I think people are done with it.
He's accepted to fight Oscar De La Hoya, so he's going right back.
Well, but Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd are two different. I mean, that's real boxing.
Yeah.
So that's a difference between fighting, Anderson Silva and versus Floyd Mayweather than Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
People would definitely buy that because that's definitely boxing.
Right.
Indeed. Well, number 3, here we go, Coach. Fury versus Wilder 3 will result in another inconclusive draw on October 9th. Fact or fiction?
I think it's fiction. Fiction. I think it's going to be a knockout one way or the other.
Well, I tell you what, and one thing I wanted to bring this up also, Coach, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This is, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but it needs attention. It needs a lot more attention than it's getting. This is the most, because of the way the fans have reacted, this is going to be the most racially charged heavyweight fight we've seen since 1982 and Jerry Cooney versus Larry Holmes. Do you think, and this is very serious, do you think there needs to be heightened security during fight week as well as the night of the fight?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a shame that our sport is turning to this, but you have to protect not only the fighters, you have to protect all the people that's coming to watch the fight. Also, you got to protect them from themselves, because, look, people are going to be betting a lot of money both ways. And, and whatever, if there's any controversy on a stoppage or anything like that, it could be a riot. I mean, and it could be deadly. So, I think people gotta be careful, watch themselves, and it's better to watch it on pay-per-view for me than to go to a fight like that.
I was just gonna say that I'm not covering this fight live. You couldn't pay me enough to cover this fight live, Coach. So I tell you what, let's move on to number 4. Marcus Brown will shock the world and outpoint reigning WBC IBF light heavyweight champ Arthur Beterbiev later this year. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. See, I didn't even have to answer that, LadyChann.
Sorry.
She know.
Sorry.
Yep.
No.
To be honest with you, Coach, I don't even know why this fight was ordered.
Well, I mean, if a guy is the mandatory, what can you do?
That's my question to you. Why is this gentleman, Marcus Brown, the number 1 challenger in the WBC?
Well, no matter how he got there, the fact is he's there. And, and you have to, champions have to honor mandatories, no matter how he got there. Now, maybe he didn't deserve to be there. Maybe somebody else deserved to be there. But the thing is, no matter how he got there, he's there. And by their own statute, he has to, he's the mandatory contender, so the champion has to fight him. So it is what it is. And
How many rounds do you see this one going, Coach?
2 or 3.
I was going to say 3. I was going to say 3. I thought I was being mean by saying 3, but I was going to say 3.
No, it's yeah. This is going to be ugly. Number 5, Coach Dillian White will get outboxed and stopped in the late rounds at the hands of Otto Wallin on October 30th. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. I mean, Otto Wallin, he's not a puncher. He's a good fighter, but he's okay. And I just don't see him knocking Dillian White out. I don't see it. Maybe, something can happen that he can get the stoppage, but I just don't see it.
I
Maybe
concur,
LadyChann
Mr. Shields.
can come and answer that one too.
The only way he's going to stop Dillian White if he comes with an uppercut and lands flush.
No, the only way he's going to knock out Dillian White is if he brings a baseball bat to the ring.
No, Dillian White is very susceptible to an uppercut.
No, of course. That's how he's been knocked out every single time or hurt every time he's by that uppercut. You're absolutely right on the money. Yeah. But realistically, he's got to bring a pair of brass knuckles or a baseball bat or even an Uzi.
Otto Wallin is not a big puncher.
He's not. He's a big guy, but he's not a powerful puncher.
No, the big Swede doesn't crack. Yep, right about that one. Yep. All right, number 6, Coach. A prime Mike Tyson would have KO'd both Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk on the same night. Fact or fiction?
Let's say it simultaneously, Coach, please. After 3. 3, 2, 1. Fact.
Fact.
Super fact. Super fact.
Oh, my word. You could probably throw in Deontay Wilder in the mix too.
Throw the whole division in. Throw the whole top 10 division in. Throw them all in. And he'll do them all in the same night.
Okay, well, let's make this a little more interesting, Coach. Let's make this a little more interesting. David Tua versus Anthony Joshua, Coach.
Tua. Wow. Sorry, I'm coming out.
Let me tell you something. David Tua. If you can land that left hook, you will knock into Joshua out.
Lights out.
People still know that Joshua don't have the best chin in the world. But, he's such a good boxer. But, but
I don't know. That's
he fights strong guys like a David Tua. He's knocked out. I mean, it's just simple as that.
Tua would knock him out. Why is it said that Anthony Joshua hasn't got I don't agree, because every time he's been knocked down, he gets up.
Yeah, he gets up, but
there's people that don't. There's shots that he's taken and hasn't.
He gets up, but he's walking on feathers for the rest of the fight, sister.
But he wins. When he's got up walking on feathers, only Andy.
All right, that's enough. We know you. We know why you're saying this, sister. Come on now.
That's just a fact. Go ahead. All right.
All right. Next one, number 7. Everyone involved with the sport of boxing should prohibit the use of strength and conditioning coaches from this point forward to ensure a clean sport. Fact or fiction, Coach?
I think it's fiction. And, but you know how I feel about conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
But every conditioning guy isn't that way. And I know this for a fact that I know some really good conditioning guys. And, and so I can't throw them under the bus for guys who are dirty, who don't respect the sport of boxing, who figure they got to get an advantage in the way they can. So that's the only reason I'm saying fiction, because I really know some really great guys that are conditioning guys.
Indeed. Listen to this, and I'm going to read this very quickly, and it pertains to that last fact or fiction, Coach. This was Eddie Reynoso's response after all of the slanderous comments from Caleb Plant, basically casting aspersions towards Camp Reynoso because 2 of his fighters have tested positive for banned substances. This was his response, and I want to get your take on this. He says, quote, I've been training for 20 years, and in this time I've trained 15 world champions, and my job is just to train them. These people like Caleb Plant don't know anything about my career, my accomplishments, everything I've done in my role with these fighters. This is something they're ignorant about and trying to tarnish everything I've worked for. I feel disappointed that I'm currently being criticized. I'm the trainer. I teach boxing. I teach technique. I prepare the fighters to fight. That's my role. Unfortunately, there are some people in the press that are trying to take me down and attacking me for something I'm not responsible for. The analogy to this is when a manager picks bad fights for his fighter and then they blame the trainer. They're mixing up the roles. I didn't study medicine. I don't give advice on medicine. I don't give advice on nutrition. End quote. Your thoughts on Eddie Reynoso's comments and his backlash, his retort to all of the negative criticism that he's been receiving. Is he right on the money, or is the criticism justified?
He's right on the money, you know. He, you know, I mean, he's probably like myself. You know, I would never tell a fighter to take anything, because especially if I don't know what it is, you know. And, you know, and you have to start looking at these conditioning guys, because they all want to make a name for themselves. And, you know, and it's a shame that they use these fighters to do, you know, talk them into doing illegal stuff. And the fighter, but I still blame the fighter for not checking to see what they're taking. And, you know, Eddie Reynoso is right. You know, all he does is train these guys. He don't give guys, hey, you got to take this, you got to take that. You know, he's like myself. I wouldn't do that to a fighter. I wouldn't tell him to take anything to try to lose weight, to try to, you know, do anything. I wouldn't. Look, you have to lose it by working hard. That's how you lose your weight. You eat properly. You know, you do it in a certain amount of time in order to give yourself time to, you know, to not be weak, you know. But these guys listen to all these strength and conditioning guys who think they can get away with certain things so these guys can keep their strength while they losing this weight. And or just having them cheating, period. You know? So, you know, look, so I don't blame Eddie for coming out the way he came out, because he's telling the truth. If this is all he does with these guys is train them, then no, it's not his fault that these guys go and listen to somebody else and they take all these different medicines and don't know what they're taking, and then they fail drug tests, you know. But then, you know, when he don't fight, it hurts the whole team.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You know, it does. It hurts the whole team.
Yeah.
If it was one of my guys, look, I'm part of the team. So, you know, and I tell my guys, don't take nothing that you don't know what it is. Don't come back to me and try to blame me for me telling you not to take something that you're not supposed to take. Because they'll do it, and I tell coach what they've done. And that's not fair to the trainer.
Well said, Coach Ronnie. Well said, brother. Boy, look at Coach Ronnie getting fired up. I love it.
I love it.
Coach number 8, are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
Team Wilder will contest Tyson Fury's selection of customary horsehair Paffin gloves during the glove selection process and attempt to force Fury into wearing a foam latex-based glove instead. Fact or fiction?
Well, that could be a fact, but it's not up to them. It's up to the commission. The commission, you know, they choose. You know, if you bring them gloves that they know are made by somebody who they don't even know about, then they're not going to accept those gloves. Simple as that. But if it's by somebody who they've used to making these types of gloves, then it's nothing Wilder, his team, or anybody could say. You know, it's up to the commission. The commission is the head honcho. They tell you
they approve
you can do it or you can't. Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's approved, then you can't.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's the primary reason why I brought it up. If the Nevada State Athletic Commission if they approve of the horsehair paffins, does Deontay Wilder and his team have any right of recourse?
Nope.
He has no right of recourse. He could do whatever he want to do. He could threaten to pull out of the fight. Hey,
Get fined.
he'll tell you, okay,
get
bye.
sued or
See
fined.
you later. See you next time. You lose your money, not us.
Excuse me. Number 9, Coach. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
A prime Alexander Usyk outboxes a prime Evander Holyfield. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction, yeah, that's fiction. Let me tell you something. Evander Holyfield in his day, I wouldn't bet against him against anybody. You know, the guy, he was a dominant force when he moved the heavyweight division, and you know, age just caught up with him. But I'm telling you, I think Evander Holyfield in his prime, he probably was knocked Usyk out.
He knocked him out.
Well, this is why I'm bringing this up, Coach, because there's been a silly debate on Twitter lately of who the greatest cruiserweight of all time is, Evander Holyfield or Alexander Usyk. And my argument is, and I just have to say one thing, has Alexander Usyk ever faced anyone like Dwight Muhammad Qawi?
No.
No, sir.
And there it is.
Absolutely not.
In my opinion, the greatest cruiserweight fight of all time.
Absolutely.
Oh, breathtaking. Guys, if you haven't seen that fight or if you haven't seen it in a while, go pull it up, guys. Oh, it's brilliant. Number 10, the final fact or fiction. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Gabe Rosado will outbox and outpoint Jaime Munguia later this year. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Think he's too long in the tooth, sir?
Yeah, you know, look, he had a knockout in his last fight, Gabe there, but he didn't fight nobody with the experience of a Jaime Munguia, and that's the difference right there, you know. And you know, Munguia has been, you know, he's in his prime right now, and Gabe is on the end of his career, so I just don't see it. You know, Gabe can punch a little bit, but Munguia can take a punch. So I just think that Jaime Munguia, he's gonna beat him, and he may even stop him.
Indeed. Are you a bit disappointed, Coach, that Jaime Munguia didn't go through with his WBC mandated fight with Sergey Derevyanchenko, or does that leave room for Jamal to just go through with whatever he has scheduled later on this year?
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised that they avoided that fight. You know, I didn't see the reasoning behind it. You know, why go and fight a guy like Gabe Rosado, who doesn't mean nothing in any division in the sport, but you know, you refuse to fight a guy and be the number 1 contender. I mean, that, you know, it's something behind that. I don't know what it is, but you know, it's something behind that, and you know, who knows? I mean.
Well,
I don't even want to think about it.
Well, you know that Eric Gomez and Roberto Diaz, they're very gradual when they're bringing up their prospects. And if they don't have a Canelo Alvarez in their stable any longer, boy, they don't want to stick him in over his head. And to me, that says everything. They're not confident that Jaime Munguia could beat any of the current title holders right now, because correct me if I'm wrong, he's number 1 contender in 2 of the major sanctioning organizations, right?
Right, the WBO and WBC.
That's right. And yeah, in my opinion, boy, he would get dusted by both Boo Boo Andrade as well as Jamal Charlo, in my opinion. And that's exactly why they're doing it, Coach. They're waiting till you guys move up to 68. And that's it. They don't want to have to deal with that sledgehammer jab of the hitman Charlo. That's it. But that's it, Coach. That's fact or fiction. Miss LadyChann, do you have anything else for Coach Ronnie before he exits the program, sister?
Yes, please. Coach Ronnie, I'm doing a piece on Pernell Whitaker, and I'd just like to know anything that stands out that you probably haven't really said or told the story to anybody of it could be good, it could be bad, but anything that stands out, an experience that you had with him, or please? Thank you as well.
It would take me all day to to talk about Pernell Whitaker. You know, it's not just one thing about this guy. You know, he was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's probably the only thing I can say about him right now. But
Yeah.
he was a good guy, and he could be a bad guy also.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, man, he's probably the only fighter besides Evander Holyfield that I could call a friend that I actually just hung out with. And I only hung out with two fighters in my whole career of training fighters, and that was Evander Holyfield and Pernell Whitaker. I refuse to hang out with any other fighter because, it's not good for the trainer to be hanging with fighters. But those two guys, I can hang with them and train them all day and not have a problem with them listening to me. So, but two are the best fighters in the sport of boxing, and they're going to always be a legacy for these guys in the sport of boxing.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
And there it is, guys. Ronnie, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience, brother?
Keep listening to Fight Saga, and we're going to see you next week.
Excellent. Coach Ronnie, thank you once again for being on the program. LadyChann, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience as well?
Guys, thank you. Joseph, thank you for having me. Coach Ronnie, thank you for hanging with me. You hanged out with LadyChann, so I'm the third person in the business that you hanged out with. I'm all right. I just don't need maybe I need media training, but I don't need any boxing training. And it was a pleasure to speak to you, sir. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And guys, if you missed any part of this program, it's going to be available as soon as we sign off. But on behalf of LadyChann and on behalf of legendary fight trainer Ronnie Shields, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to Warwick Radio. Have a great evening, everybody.